Good morning, all. Good morning, philosophy and letters. Welcome. Morning, JK Vegan. I'm doing a little Snapchat here just to show that it's starting the broadcast while we're waiting. In case anybody's interested, my Snapchat is NYC But, no need to run off and start linking to me. So we're going to hold off just a second before we get started. Plan is for us to have a little hour-long chat, and I'm hoping that folks who are joining, as usual, will be willing to jump in and be guest on the stream as well. Hey, Mad Blender. Hey, Nikki Wonderful. Hey, Boo. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, so I hope everybody's having a good morning this morning. I've been up since 6 o'clock, as usual. Spent some time checking out some new YouTubers. I found a whole little group of, I shouldn't say a little, well, it's a little smaller group. Found a whole group of YouTubers that I'm interested in checking out, and they're mostly YouTubers who kind of counter the, hey, Plant Style, thanks for the 4,000 likes. So some YouTubers who are basically addressing, taking a close look at anti-feminism in social media, specifically on YouTube, and there's a whole group of them that I'm really excited to check out. I've been this morning, I think I mentioned some of you, if you caught the Q&A, I posted a Q&A celebrating reaching 2,000 subscribers yesterday, which was really cool. And I mentioned, oh, did I say 4,000? 400 thanks for the 400 million likes, Plant Style. Thanks for the 400 likes, Plant Style. Thanks for inviting 880 fans. I'm doing really well today, Mad Blender. Thank you for asking. So yeah, I've been looking at all these really cool videos that have me so happy, because one of the questions, in fact, in the Q&A was, do we feel like, social justice stands a chance in this climate of anti-feminism and anti-social justice warriors in social media? And there's one YouTuber, the one janitor, who I can't think off. I know his first name is Kevin. I can't think of his last name offhand, but he goes by the one janitor, and that's THE1 janitor. I'm typing it in. I thought I was typing it in. THE1 janitor. Hey, Juice. And just really amazing dude, and has been posting videos. Yeah, definitely check him out. He's been posting videos since 2007, so he's reaching his 10 years on YouTube, and has been making, the kind of content that I've been looking for. And all these people have just been out there. I just, haven't, I guess, YouTube is so vast, and one doesn't know what to search. And the reason that I found him was because of the tags that I'd been using in my videos and because of the titles that I've been using in my videos, he started to pop up as a suggestion. And so I checked him out and I was like, YouTube's algorithm is not failing me. YouTube's algorithm is kind of working for me right now. And then once I started watching his videos, other people came up, and I found somebody who goes by Tom Avila, and it was great because I went to his channel and he was, you know, making response videos to some of the videos that I had found the most disturbing when I was, you know, looking into this phenomenon of anti-social justice on YouTube, you know, specifically in the YouTube vegan community, which is just shocking to me. Plant Style says, just wanted to stop by and say hi and some love. So I have to get ready for work, and have a good day. Have a good stop by and say hi. Have a great, and I have to get ready to work, and have a good day. Bye, everyone. Plant Style, thank you so much for stopping in and inviting people and all those likes and all those things. I hope you have an amazing day, Plant Style. Yeah, so we got some folks in here, so I'm hoping, you know, and Juice, you were the one who picked up on this. You were like, oh, so your videos during the week are the prep for the live stream. I see how you're rolling. And I'm like, yeah, because we got to have something to talk about. And also, I've been even more intentionally trying to theme. So like all last week was kind of like, you know, this idea of free speech, but particularly how it pertains to hate speech, and are all kinds of speech, you know, protected, and of course all kinds of speech, you know, should be protected, but have some really interesting theories to share with you that came up in some of the videos that I was watching. So I'd love to hear your opinions on those as we start to get some folks in the room. So I do hope that, again, some of you will be willing to guest. And over the past few weekends, I have attempted to call on people like the school teacher, and people are like, no, I'm not doing it. You know, my hair ain't did, I'm in my whatever, I'm in my drawers, whatever. So I don't want to, good. How is Haiti? Are you, Juice, you were in Haiti? I want to hear about this. You got to get on and tell us about your trip to Haiti. You got to get on and tell us about that, Juice. I hope you do jump on and talk a little bit. But one of these ideas is this sort of concept of no platforming, you know, and it's this concept of no platforming, and I have a lot to discover in terms of no platforming, and before I make a video about it, but there are some videos out there that I'm gonna start compiling and sharing with folks. And it's just, you know, if someone's view is so universally heinous, right? If somebody is saying, I believe that, you know, we should do an ethnic cleansing in the United States, right? If someone is saying that, is that an opinion? Do you know what I mean? Is that an opinion? You know, it's like you can say that, but you know, where do you draw the line? I believe that we should go out, you know, that people should go out and murder someone, you know, every now and then just to let off some steam, right? You know, there are certain types of speech that really are condoning behavior that is not conscionable or lawful. And are we obligated to provide a platform to those opinions? Hey, Mike. I do never care. Just need to make sure I have a shirt on. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So yes. Cool. Wasn't it amazing? It's not what people think it is from watching American media. You're talking about Haiti. Yeah, I would love to get a little report back from Haiti, Juice, if you'd be interested in talking about that, specifically talking about what you think are the perceptions, and it's okay. We're just having a conversation, so it's okay to just share what's anecdotal. We can go back and research all of this stuff later, which is understand we're having a conversation, and then in conversations people can just say what they think, right? I hope it's safe to do that here. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that there's definitely I think there's room for it, and I do believe that there are. I think the idea is that no one is obligated to give a platform to, someone, kind of to use Milo as an example, although Milo was fairly vague in his, I don't some of the things I don't even want to say them. I don't even want to give them the space to even repeat what they are. But there are, certain ways of thinking about, like, someone who, was like, I think it's important for men to beat their wives, right? If that's someone's belief, I don't think that we're at all obligated to give that person a platform. They can say it, but I think it's perfectly fine to ignore them, right? And there certainly are, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of these tools, all of these tools have terms of service, have terms of service agreements where they state, very specifically that you can lose your account. They will close your account if you engage in certain types of incendiary speech. And so I think that there's something about that. There's something very reasonable about that. Right, let them go make a YouTube channel, but it doesn't mean a college needs to invite them to come speak. Right, exactly. So the college does not need to have them come and speak. And in some of these cases, it's someone who's like a donor to the college, or someone who's maybe on the board of, like on the board for the college, who will invite this person, like using their particular privilege to invite someone who the students have no desire to hear speak. And I think in those cases, I know, Mad Blender, you may be the only person who saw hey Lily, great to see you, welcome. Hey Vegan Youth. So I don't want to get into it too much. Again, I don't want to get too much into the no platforming, but just because I don't know enough about it. But I am this idea, like, do people who say things intent to intentionally incite unrest, do they, should that kind of speech be, allowed in the spaces where they will, cause harm? Like, kind of, if somebody, walked into a church, for example, and started spouting, anti-religious things, right? Is it fair that, members of the congregation escort that person out for, saying things that go directly against why that group was brought into that space, right? So people have come into that space for a particular purpose. So for somebody to just be able to walk into that space and start saying, whatever they want, that to me seems valid, that they would be asked to leave, because they're bringing to a halt the event. They're bringing that event to a halt to serve their own purpose. Go get your own room and build your own congregation and have any conversations you want to. JK Vegan says, any nonsense. So that's what I'm proposing as a discussion topic for today. And now that it's been proposed, I would really love to hear from all of you what your thoughts are. So, Mike, thanks for inviting 87 fans to the broadcast. If there's anyone I've missed who's done anything like that, I would love to just thank you at this point for being here. So so we have a fair number of folks in the room. So is there anybody who wants to jump on. I think Mike, you were open. You were saying you just need to pull on a you just need to pull on a robe or something like that. I just want to make sure everybody's cool. And then I would love to hear from, again, I'd love to hear from you all what your thoughts are on that. Something interesting that I was part of, by the way, was it on Saturday? It was on Friday. On Friday night, I was part of something called a Women's March Huddle. And so apparently the folks who organized the Women's March have been trying to keep that energy by having organizations around the country host these events that are called huddles, and it gives people who may have energy that they want to give to building, to movement building, a chance to come into space and do some organizing. And I thought it was really awesome. And I was asked to come in and lead a kind of theater of the oppressed portion of the event. And I did an exercise where I offered them to, kind of create an image together of what the, problems of the present were. And they created this group image that showed all the different things that they saw as issues in their lives. And then I asked them to create an image of the future that they hoped for. And they created a really cool image with that. And then I asked them, how long they thought it would take to get there, and they came up with a number. And it was interesting because there were some people who were like, tomorrow. Not going to happen, right? Some people were like 30 years from now. Probably realistic, right? But then people just agreed that 4 years was a number that they wanted to work with for the exercise. And so then I kind of walked them through thinking about, what would they do when they got home that night? What would they do tomorrow morning? What would they do next week? And then we created a timeline of, things that people could do. And it was really wonderful because I think people who may have come into that room feeling kind of maybe helpless or like there wasn't a lot that they could do, left with hundreds of examples of things that they could be doing starting from the moment they got home from that particular workshop through to, the end of 4 years. And some of them were surprising. Like one that really knocked me over was have conversations with people I disagree with. Have more conversations with people I disagree with, which I thought was just a beautiful thought and something that we, maybe don't do enough. And I think it's been happening, actually, interestingly, it's been happening a lot more on YouTube. And I think part of it is due to the fact that I feel like the drama, the trolliness, all of those things are taking a back seat to the fact that there's real stuff. I guess when we have real issues to deal with, all the kind of bullcrap kind of fades away. Yeah. Thought exercises are always interesting. People are not often thinking through how to achieve something. Yeah, Mike on Raw. Free speech cuts both ways. You can say it, but you need to deal with the consequences of what you say. That was Mike on Raw as well. Let's see. JK says, JK, I'm so sorry I missed some of these things. YouTube, speaking on the internet isn't exactly a right. You guys go so fast isn't exactly right. You're at least guaranteed you guys go so fast, you're at least guaranteed the right to stand on the street corner and speak. Yeah. And the thing is, when we talk about freedom of speech, and I made a video on it, and many people have been making videos around freedom of speech, because I think the idea gets misused. Freedom of speech is freedom from the government to intervene. So you can speak freely without the government. You're not going to get arrested for speaking your mind. And not all free speech, not all speech is protected. There are certain, like if your speech is directed at someone in a harmful way, we have slander and libel law, so you can't just say anything about anyone in particular. If your speech is intended to incite violence against a specific individual, meaning like somebody, that person over there, not, it's, it may be harmful to black people. Like that doesn't count under, speech speech intended to incite violence. But if there is a particular black person that you know is going to be harmed because of the words that you say, like when they, when they accused Emmett Till of whistling at a white woman, right? There was a target for the violence that came later. Or yelling fire in a crowded theater. Absolutely, Mike on Raw. That's the example that is given. I think it might even be given in most kind of people explaining what that law is. Everything that I've read gave yelling fire in a crowded theater. But then there's also something called fighting words. And I really want to know a lot more about this idea of fighting words. Hey, Gat Bagan. Hi, Reg. Thanks for your valuable content. I always learn something watching your vids. Thanks so much for that. I'm glad you're watching. Some Juice said Tanamojo is a prime example of saying something and then suddenly there are the consequences, right? But even with Tanamojo, right, she's not entitled to have a platform. She's not entitled to have a channel with 1 million subscribers. She's not entitled. There's no law guaranteeing someone's right to have that platform. And the understanding is that the people, it's through consensus, what is considered we consider what is considered acceptable, right? And it's not to say that the crowd gets to decide what's acceptable and what is not, but people, if you say things that upset people, it's up to you to figure out a way to say that so that it doesn't bring stuff down on your head, right? So there's a way that things can be delivered so that they don't impact people negatively. And then there's always going to be the person who's going to be upset by whatever, but that's not the majority, right? So freedom of speech, again, it's just this idea that the government's not going to get you for saying what it is that you said. However, even with that reality, the government has many times over the course of, at least in the United States, many times over the course of American history, revoked that right. And what I talk about in the freedom of speech video is I talk about Alien and Sedition Act, where they started targeting foreigners. They started targeting immigrants, even immigrants who were citizens. They targeted anyone who said anything against the government. And it was, even back then, they're using basically the same language. It's a matter of national security, right? So now we have that same thing being evoked. Thanks for the applause. I love those little applauding hands. I'm just going to watch them. Yeah. Nice. And it goes on just like you want it, enough to stand up and take a bow. Thank you, Truth KL. So, yeah, so I would, as I said, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What makes you uncomfortable about the idea of people, maybe protesting certain types of speech? Are there certain types of speech that you agree, really should not be protected? We already have examples of certain types of speech that aren't protected. Do those laws go really far enough to prevent actual physical harm from coming to people? What should be allowable in terms of people's reaction to the speech that others are so free to make, according to the government? I don't know if people saw it, but the Richard Spencer, who's kind of considered the leader of the alt-right, who's the alt-right, I think already is being swept under the rug by conservatives these days. Hey, Tom. Good morning. You're cleaning the kitchen but paying attention. Cool. Vegan assault usually requires more than just words. I'm not sure. Okay. Vegan, you can get hit with terroristic threats using just the right words. And JK, I think you might be referring to the lawsuits that have been levied against certain vegan YouTubers for just telling the truth about what happens in animal commodities industries. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. So I'd love to get you all coming on. I have one guest in the queue, so we're going to welcome our guest. And if any of you, any others are willing to jump in, I would love to hear from you. But first, we're going to welcome. Let's see how this works out. Holding off here. It says connecting. I got my fingers crossed that we're going to have a guest any second. Yeah, but like I said, in the meantime. Oh man. Why
Yo,
why are you hurting people?
I
Why are
got
you
you,
hurting
man.
people? Why are you hurting people this morning? You're out cuz
Yo.
I'm in Michigan. I'm here, in my embarrassing sweater.
Come to Florida.
And you're in I would come to Florida. Yeah. Okay. Use some of your magic and snap me to Florida. Man, it's so good to see you. It's so good to have you on the
Likewise.
channel.
Likewise.
So
It's about time. It's about time.
absolutely about time. So for those of you who don't know, this is Juice, y'all. Juice has a great channel on YouTube, and we get to see this a lot. If you
Yeah.
follow Juice's channel, it's veganism happening in beautiful, sunny Florida.
Yeah,
And
man.
so,
It's-
how you doing? How you doing?
I'm enjoying the pool.
So you're in the pool.
Yeah.
So you hopped out. Come on.
Really not much. I do want to talk about Haiti. Seriously, if anyone has any doubts about visiting the country, please throw it away. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous vacation spot. Lots of tourists. It's not what you think. It's not what you see on TV. It's the total opposite. Seriously, it's a gorgeous resort spot to vacation.
Okay, so
Seriously.
you recommend going to Haiti, and like
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The last real kind of engagement around Haiti that I'm aware of was rebuilding after the earthquake.
Right.
And so
Right.
while you were there, did you see still signs of
course.
the earthquake, or there's still things that are
Absolutely.
in process. In process. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's still a country trying to get it together with the economy and everything. I've seen people from different churches adopting children from the country, so this is still happening today, no doubt.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are tourists vacationing at in the country, and it's just awesome. There's so many different people, man. There's Chinese, black, white. It's really amazing to see this stuff. And it's supposed to be a poor country, so
Right.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Right. And so I'm guessing that you were vlogging. I'm
course.
guessing you were vlogging. I need to go get caught up. But
course.
the last I hate to say this because I have nothing but love for you, but really the last channel that I want to be looking at right now is you in your sunny Florida, running
For sure.
around, no clothes on, nothing, just running around naked, in the sun as God
Crazy.
intended. All right now. Floating in the pool. All right, I
man.
keep really seriously nothing but love for that. I really appreciate that, and I have to say, it's spring is right around the corner. If you guys
Yep.
don't know, I'm a first day of spring baby, so I not only get to celebrate the coming of spring, but I get to celebrate my day of birth on that day. Hints.
You're
Hints.
not too far away. You're not too far away from spring, so that's the best part. I'm expecting to see a lot of sun shining and awesome videos. With you being in Michigan or Chicago. Are you from Chicago or you're from Michigan?
I'm not. I'm originally from. Just to give away my whole tea, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and then I've lived in New York for many, many years, and then now I'm living in Michigan. But if you remember, last summer I was outside every day. I was
Yeah,
doing most of
yeah,
my
yeah,
videos
yeah.
from outside. Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
I'm going to go back. I can't wait because just having to set up these lights is just
Yeah.
who wants to do it? So yeah, I can't wait to get back outside. And I believe
Awesome.
this year we're going to have grapes in the vineyard. So we're going to have so we'll see what's going on with that.
Interesting.
But okay. So then now in terms of, because I know that you've been following some of these conversations, do you have any thoughts about what's been happening politically? I know you were out of the country. You had escaped some
Yeah.
of the insanity. But do you have any
Thank
thoughts
God.
about what's been happening? Yeah, do you have any thoughts about what's been happening, or any of the free speech or Milo you've been following? Have you caught any of that stuff?
Maybe not the Milo part, but the free speech. I just think it's a little out of hand, and I think it's like some confusion with free speech. Like you said, if it's hurting people, if it's causing pain, this is not free speech anymore. This is just plain, it's not crime, but it's just not free speech. If you're trying to purposely hurt people, that's
Right,
BS.
right.
That's nonsense.
Yeah,
No way.
yeah. And I think intention, and it's hard to prove intention too, right? So I can't.
Absolutely.
And it's clear, right? If every time you've done it, it's ended up in outrage.
Right.
What's the difference between knowing that screaming the word fire in a crowded theater is going to start a stampede? If you know that what you are saying is going to have that effect, I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean, and there's no guarantee that screaming fire is going to cause widespread panic. You might be in a group of people who are totally chill.
Right.
But chances are it's going to start a stampede, and so we keep out for those things. So I think the law. Yeah, come on.
To change the subject, I think your next video should be about YouTubers or social media people releasing advice and tips to their viewers or audience where they're not really when they're not professionals or a certified nutritionist to give these tips and advice to their subscribers. I could be wrong too, because even if you're a doctor, you still give out really bad advice or tips to your patients. But I just have a problem with a YouTuber giving advice to their followers or whatever when they're not a certified professional. It's just crazy.
And are you talking about like across the spectrum, not just dietary, but across the spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, it could be from I don't know, just all sorts of things. But I just think if you're not a professional in that field, it's not. I don't think you're qualified to give advice or tips on these things. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I hear you, and this is one of the reasons why when people say, "Oh, make a video about that," I'm like, you have no idea what you're asking me to go get a PhD.
Right, it's crazy
to be able to do that, right? So definitely, I think, and when I did Convertible, one of the things that I was like, no, I'm not going to be telling Ethan how to eat. I'm not going to tell Joanne, who's a cancer survivor. I'm not going to tell her how to. No.
It's just ridiculous. I think my last two videos I did was about both John Venus and KC, aka Vegan Hustle TV.
Okay.
And I think just this morning, John Venus wrote he left a comment on the video, and he was basically just defending what he was trying to show to people. Even though he's not a nutritionist, he feels like he can still give advice to his subscribers because he reads a lot of books and he watches a lot of documentary, which is cool. But again, you're not really qualified to give tips on health, man. You're just not.
I mean, you could just refer them to the materials. You could say, "Hey, read this and see what Because there's also, I've had plenty of examples where people read the book and then misunderstand it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they're giving people wrong information. So yeah, so definitely, I agree with you there.
It's crazy, man. It is.
That it's epidemic. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I know a little bit about Vegan Hustle, and he's like somebody, and they're going to call me a racist. They're going to call me a racist. But they're just so few. There are so few, people of African descent who are making videos. So I try to call them out and lift them up. And so I've actually and before I knew you, I did a video back in the day called Where's All the Colored Folk, and I listed 30 or 40 different YouTube channels that were all people of color. And that was and so I included him on the list, but I also included other people that since then I'm like, I don't know, but it's for people to check out and see if they want for themselves. But I understand what you mean, and I'm not trying to get you to diss Vegan Hustle TV, but I want to know come on, you here, we're doing it. What's up with Vegan Hustle TV? What did he do? Is he in a doghouse, or is he somebody that's doing it the right way?
I would say both, because he's a great guy. I'm subscribed to both their channels, and I'm not bashing both guys at all. I really like their videos, and they're just really positive people, and they're vegan, so I have to rep them as much as possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's just I call out bullshit when I see bullshit.
Hmm.
And giving out advice on health is not cool, man. That's someone else's job. They went to school for that, so that's that title for a reason. You don't deserve to give that. You're just not qualified to do that, and
Hmm.
that's just bullshit to me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
no way.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you there, and I think it is something to keep reminding ourselves that YouTube. I don't care how deep a person goes, we're still ultimately just entertainment,
Right.
right?
I'm glad you said that. That's awesome. You said that's just all it is, really.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
even if you like, I don't care how down, how much you are of an activist. Once you get on this platform, you might call yourself an educator, but honestly, it's still, people aren't watching. People are watching you for the entertainment value. If they were
Right.
just
Right.
interested in the education, they would go sign up for a class or what have you. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to grossly overgeneralize.
Right.
You know what? I've been terrible because I haven't been following the chat. I know that there's some people who have things to say. Let's
Yeah,
see.
it's just weird, man. I just feel like it seems like once you have a YouTube channel, you're this health you're like a guru on health now because you have a YouTube channel like millions of subscribers. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
it means nothing. It's crazy.
and it's almost like the credentials now are the number of subscribers. I'm
Right.
like, wait a minute
Ridiculous.
now. I mean, if when you go through and you see when you go through and see some of the people who have, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers, and you see that, there's no real skill here. There's
No,
just,
man.
maybe some charm, and they have their finger on the pulse of what people like, but there's no degrees. No degree required to be on
Nah.
YouTube.
No. No. That's it. That's it. Well, this was fun. Let me get back with my girl. She's waiting for me to get some pull with her.
All
This
right,
was
so
fun.
give my love. It's been so amazing to have a little bit of FaceTime with you. And again, I can only be so jealous because that sky is beautiful behind you.
It is.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I wish you could, just jump in the water and still have us sign off. But you don't have to do that. We'll imagine you jumping in the water as soon as you're gone.
Right afterwards,
All
I
right, now.
promise.
All right. Peace.
Take
Peace
care.
now.
Bye bye.
Bye now. All right, now, y'all, that was Juice. So I don't know if you've never heard of Juice before, check him out. He's a great guy and really, brings the love. And one thing that I love about Juice is he uses his platform to uplift a lot of other voices. I mean, that's the thing that I've, in terms of a resource, Juice is constantly um, uh, checking out other channels and proposing other channels, and he has kind of a little vetting process where to be recommended as a channel you have to be engaging. You have to show your love of community and kind of be engaging on his channel and commenting and looking at other people. So it's not just like, having a fancy channel is how you get. He really, takes his time and vets people. And, I love that. I love that about him. And certainly I hope you guys were able to feel the waves of love. I felt them coming at me through the screen, just having that brief little discussion. So, hey, you guys, we're already 40 minutes into this broadcast. And fortunately, we've had a guest, but I would love, again, to hear from some others of you about things that have been going on. If you've been following Democracy Now!, there's been even more talk about this whole impeaching Donald Trump, which I'm not sure how I feel about. I don't think that's the dude for the job. No hate. No hate. I just don't think that's the dude for the job. There's something I don't think that's the dude for the job. And it seems to me, if you were at all, the thing, like when you think about a politician, right? When you think about a politician, you think about someone who knows how to engage with lots of different people coming from lots of different positions, at least in their public face, right? At least to present a public face that shows them as someone who can bring people into their way of thinking, into an understanding of why what it is that they're trying to do is good for them. That's what I think about as a politician. And so here we have Donald Trump, who was, yes, we're going to talk about the bathroom issue. Let me finish this point about Donald Trump. Donald Trump was, did not win the popular vote. So there's a majority of people who voted who already didn't think you needed to be president. And so it would seem with understanding that the nation is kind of divided, that you would use whatever skills you have to bring people together. Dude has failed to do that. So, I don't know. Talking about the bathroom issue. So I plan on jumping into that in next week, and I was actually thinking of dedicating all of my videos next week to LGBTQIA plus issues. And I almost never talk about those things. And I realized somebody asked me, how has being queer affected your activism? And I'm like, it's been kind of all of my activism. Before I even had a true critical analysis of the world that we live in, I understood that I had to fight for my rights to enter spaces as a gay man. And so, even before, I was dealing with racism, I was dealing with, people who challenged my right to be who I wanted to be. So those issues are very important to me, and so I want to spend some time next week talking about those. So we're going to get some videos about that. And then in terms of the bathroom issue, you guys, I'm all over the place. So I have to admit something. When I was in an undergrad, I actually, I don't know if people are familiar with Camille Paglia, who is a feminist social theorist who wrote a book called Sexual Personae back in the 90s. She she has a number of other books that she's written since then, Vamps and Tramps. And she pops up, she's all over. If you YouTube Camille Paglia, you'll find many things about her. And she says a lot of things that are really incendiary. But I feel like in my experience in academia, a lot of my ways of thinking about the world, at least in terms of the world of art, were shaped by Camille Paglia, who just has a very realistic sense of the world as a harsh place that you have to kind of fight. You got to fight a little to make things work, be it the weather the weather jacking you up or whatever it is. But there's something about our character as sentient beings where we all of us, doesn't matter what we are, we have to kind of understand that we have to fight to make our way through. And so I'm not going to say that I don't think that young people who are dealing with ideas about gender should be targeted. And I think in the same way that we kind of are protective of young people around lots of things, we should be protective of young people around discovering their place on the gender spectrum. But at the same time, legislating morality, and I think it is a moral issue that people be allowed to use the bathroom that matches their gender, right? I think that that's a moral issue, and I think many people understand it as a moral issue, and we call it a civil rights issue, but it's about morality. Social justice, I think, ultimately comes down to a morality, understanding that a sense of what is fair are things that one has ingrained from a very early stage. And so to then turn around and say, well, no, you have to let this person, it's going to have some pushback. And I think that we should just be prepared. There should be a fight for that, right? Because when there's a fight, we understand where we stand. We understand where we are as a race, right? When politicians say, oh, this is what we're doing because it's the cool thing to do in my state, or it's the thing that the wind is blowing in this direction, the wind is blowing in that direction. It doesn't mean that people are just going to get on board, which is how you can have a Civil Rights Act and still have people who, carry deeply ingrained racist ideologies around with them, right? Because the work hasn't really ever been done to shift the culture around race. And I think here we are really at the dawn of the age of transgender rights. To think that we're just going to be able to leap over the progress that has been made in terms of, gender equality in general, to a place where everyone is just going to be open and warm and fuzzy and accepting of transgender rights, we're kidding ourselves. So it's not surprising to me that this has happened. And the way to deal with it isn't simply to say, hey, you have to legislate to make this happen. People have to have those fights in their households. Communities have to, force those conversations into the schools that they pay taxes and they send their children to, right? So it's not just simply, everybody scratching their head and not on the same page about what is happening, but a real, but understanding that shift is going to happen on a cultural level, and that means that it's going to have to be grassroots. It's going to have to be grassroots. And that may not seem fair, but yeah, Obama skipped that process. Michael and Ross said Obama skipped that process, making it easy to reverse. And I think that is the problem. When you just try to be the good guy and do something because it's right. Yeah, okay, it's right. But if the general public hasn't embraced that morality and doesn't understand where it's coming from, you're still, the fight was still going to happen whether or not it was legislated. So, hey, Winter Wolves. Cat Black's latest video on the topic was excellent. I can't wait to see what Cat Black has to say about it. As you guys all know by now, I have a little bit of a Cat Black obsession. I'm not sure what it is. And although I may not watch every video, I check in with Cat Black every day on Snapchat. And I've Snapchatted Cat a few times and got no response. Cat will grow to love me, I think. Cat Black will grow to love me. Yeah, I agree. Needs to go. I agree, but it needs to go through the courts for it to get recognized at a federal level. But yes, I agree with all of the processes, all of the processes that are in place for things to become legislated. Yes, but even more than that, that is work that needs to be done on a grassroots level. There need to be people coming together in spaces and having conversations. Every town hall, every PTA meeting, these conversations need to be happening. And that to me seems like how you're going to get the kind of cultural shift that is necessary to normalize what people are trying to legislate. Emily de Castrique, it's your first time on YOUNOW. Welcome, and thank you for contributing to the Q&A. I hope you got a chance to watch it. I think it's just a misunderstanding. People think trans people are out there to get their kids. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, so I think people don't even understand what trans means. I mean, like there's this assumption that, first of all, if I'm a man who likes other men, maybe I want to become a woman so that I'll be more appealing to men. There are people who are trans who are then, same gender loving. It's a much deeper and much more complicated issue than I think people understand. And so I think somebody was calling out, the film Normal with, I believe it was Tom Wilkins and Jessica Lange, that was made, I feel like it was almost 10 years ago. Rules for, Emily de Castrique calls out rules for radicals. Absolutely. Rules for Radical, Rules for Radicals, and Reveille for Radicals. Rules for Radicals is the great kind of the playbook, but Reveille for Radicals is Saul Alinsky's another book by Saul Alinsky. I think it was written maybe 20 years after Rules for Radicals, where he then talks about his experiences trying to implement the playbook, and it's a beautiful work and gives concrete examples of the ways that people can create change on that grassroots level. I feel like I've talked about some examples from Reveille for Radicals during this live stream, but like one was, there were two people who were kind of considered, they were kind of configured. There was an example of one person who was kind of considered a figurehead in the community, but had no interest in getting engaged in community organizing. He didn't want to bring his natural skills as a leader in his community, somebody that lots of people looked up, but just wasn't into politics. And so what ended up happening was a group of a couple of the people who were, leaderships in the movement invited that person to a baseball game. And during the baseball game, they kept, whispering to each other. And this was a strategy. They were whispering to each other. And finally, the person said, "What are you guys talking about?" And they said, "We don't want to bother you because we know you're not interested in this." And what they did was they found a way to, first of all, engage with the person on it, around something that was of interest to them, go into the baseball game. And then while they were at the baseball game, they then, went ahead and, got the person curious enough to at least hear what they had to say. And then that person ultimately got involved in the work that they were doing. So, Reveille for Radicals is full of, practical examples of how to implement the rules for radical that Saul Alinsky talks about in his first book. I never figured out why anyone cares who uses what bathroom. Remember Ally McBeal? I do remember the show Ally McBeal. I don't think I was a watcher of Ally McBeal. But I think, again, and if you think about it, when you like most bathrooms, I haven't been in a lot of ladies' rooms, but I've been in a few. I've been in jobs where like my job was to clean the bathroom. They're stalls, so everyone has privacy when they're actually using the bathroom, and the shared space is like for washing your hands. So there is a little bit of this kind of weird fake barrier, like on that side of the door. I'm protected from what have you, but when I'm in here, I still need to be in this little booth to have, privacy. And so it's not that hard to give people the privacy that they need to do their business, regardless of what gender they are. And just, make bathrooms just bathrooms. They're just the bathroom. I think one of the things is that culturally what that bathroom represents is more than just the place to use the bathroom, though, right? And there's this idea that it's also, it's where you go to, there's a certain type of, thing, conversations happen, like people are imagining that is a social space more than it needs to be a social space. It's the bathroom. Go in and come out, and then, you could have a little other social space or what have you. But I do feel like there's a lot placed on, but it has become the point of contention. The reality is people do make a big deal out of it. Yes. Yeah, Emily de Castri, I will check that out. Thank you so much. I'm just getting started in community organizing. Yeah, it's, there's a lot of things that are, it doesn't have to look much different than any type of social, creating spaces for people to come together, right? If you're, throwing a block party, community organizing can look like throwing a block party. It can look like holding a bake sale. It can look like, anything that might happen in a community. The difference is, what it being very intentional about what the outcomes will be. These are all ways that we can engage with people at the grassroots, the community level. And once those relationships have been built, that can happen at a block party or at a bake sale or at a play, right? All of the things that people would do even if they have no interest in politics. And you can then use those relationships to, invite a bunch of people over to watch a movie. They can invite people over, have them watch Cowspiracy, and invite a bunch of people over and have them watch Amendment 13. And then the conversations that might come up after that could lead in any direction. And so much of community organizing is just really getting people to be ready to be part of coalition, right? Because the 20 people that I can organize in my neighborhood may not be able to make a difference, but I can sure let them know when there's going to be a march. And so then now, instead of me going by myself, I'm bringing 20 people with me. And then if you get 20 people bringing 20 people, you got a pretty successful action. So, people can think about organizing on the from the ground up in a much smaller scale. It doesn't have to be getting hundreds of thousands. You don't have to get 1,000 people to the march. You may only have to get 5. You may only have to get 3. But, if 100 people bring 3, So just keeping in mind that it doesn't have to be scary, and that the tools are out there. I ended up making 5 or 6 videos on just community organizing for beginners that did address just the real basics. And once I got through those 5, I was like, okay, those are the basics. And once we get out of those, we're out of organizing for beginners. And so what I think I'm going to do next, the next series is going to be speaking to people who've been doing organizing a lot longer than me, and have them talk about, maybe some of the challenges to organizing. So it'll be kind of like an organizing for, organizing 201 or whatever, just organizing 200. I don't know. But yes, I do intend to continue the series, but I was very aware that it was time it was no longer going to be for beginners. The beginning part is the easy part, and the beginning part is transferable to all kinds of things, not just activism. It can be transferable to organizing a play, or organizing, like I said, a block party. And there's also the Citizen's Handbook, which I think you can just Google a Citizen's Handbook, which came out of Vancouver, and it's just chock full of tools for community building, like modern practical tools for community building that will make it doable. And they also, I think, host a library of things that you can read to learn more about that. So somebody said, Fat and Ugly said, you're vegan. Yes, I am vegan, unless you weren't asking me. But yes, I am vegan. Yes. And I hope other people will be vegan too. I remember at my cousin's college they had a co-ed bathroom, showers included. They just had a changeable sign at the showers. Yeah, and I think other places have, like, the shower has a little bit of extra space so that you can store your clothes, so that you can do your whole changing, right there, and then, go and do your other things like your hair and your brushing and all that stuff in a more open area. But yeah, there are ways to make spaces co-ed. It's not like the bathroom door is not that strong, y'all. If somebody's trying to get in there, if somebody's really trying to get you, they're going to get you in the bathroom. They're going to get you on the street. They're going to get you, or not just you or me, right? You or me. They could come in my house. They could come in all space. They could come in, So in terms of this idea that the bathroom is where everybody's waiting to descend on the innocent. Another thing about that, it's just like, if you're that worried about what age kids are we worried about being exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to? And I start to think, wait a minute, why are your little kids in the bathroom by themselves anyway? In the traveling that I've done, I've seen many, many times that a mom will go ahead and bring her little boy into the women's room with her and take her to do. And I've also seen, dads take their, daughters into the men's room and do what they need to do, right? And there's changing stations, in both bathrooms, depending on, it's the adult supervisor who's basically constrained by the gender on that door, which ends up being, troublesome if you're with a minor who you have to accompany to the bathroom. So you already have these really awkward situations that are coming because people feel like the bathroom has to be, one for this and one for that, when the reality is they have to get used in all kinds of ways, and people make, people give leeway where it's needed. And so what people are asking for is just a little more leeway. That was a big social leap when they finally put the changing station in the men's room. LOL. Yeah, that is really funny, right? When, like, who was opposed to putting a changing station in the men's room? And there's some places now that have, like, the airport has a family room, right? So it's like people get it. People get that the bathroom, there needs to be, we need to deal with the bathroom. People already understand that we have to deal with the bathroom. So it's not asking a lot. It's just it's what happens inside of people when they hear trans. When they hear trans and what they think of, and that's happening, and that's not something that you can legislate. You can't legislate the knee-jerk reaction that people have when they hear a concept that they don't understand, and they have all these negative things playing in their heads. Maybe the only idea of trans they have in their mind is Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? And that's not helping anybody, right? But if that's your idea of what trans is, you're way off base. Why not exactly similar? You get reaction when you hear vegan. A lot of these things are transferable, right, Mike? A lot of these ideas, like people just being, the fear of venturing past the bounds of your own ignorance. The fear of going beyond the limits of your own ignorance creates, creates so much pain in people's lives. Hey, Joe Reeve says, nice to see you. Nice to see you as well. Fear is very powerful. We may be running, the world may be running a little bit on fear right now. I hate to think that. I feel like there's people who are really trying to take that back, and I love the concept of waging love, because it really does force one to reflect on how you enter spaces. Cool. I guess all the vegans are asleep, because apparently I'm #1 on vegan. I must be the only vegan. I must be the only vegan broadcasting right now. It's totally a problem with the way we think. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that some of the people concerned about the bathroom scene also don't believe sexual assault can occur within a married couple. Of course it can. Of course it can. Can I stream more often? I will say this to you. I may be able to pick up streaming and do more streaming more often. There's kind of a place that I need to be in terms of my ability to dedicate more time right now to YouTube, which I dedicate. I make videos every day, but right now I have other projects that are happening, and so through June I have commitments. And so I can't promise that I'll be doing more streaming, but summer is coming. Summertime, wonderful. And I'm going to tell you guys that I will promise to do more live streaming in the summer. especially if you guys can figure out how to, um, get me to 3,000 subscribers. No, there's no, you don't have to do anything. I will promise that I am going to do more live streaming in the summer and introduce you to more places. I'm going to take you guys around Detroit. It's going to be we're going to have so much fun. We're going to have so much fun this summer. So yes. Winter Wolves, Reg, when is your play in Brooklyn? It is in May. I believe it is the second and third week in May. We're still finalizing the schedule, and then we're going to do the big announcement. I actually am going back to Brooklyn next week, and I'm going to take you guys with me. Going back to Brooklyn next week for auditions. So I'm going to be auditioning actors for this play called Ready, Set, Go, Race. Yeah. It's going to be fun, but we're going to talk about race, but it's going to be fun. So that said, you guys, I'm looking down at the clock. It is 12:06, which means we are going to, can I suggest Dylan? You know what? You can send Dylan. There is a backstage listing for it. You can send Dylan right to propose, or they can you can refer them to me and they can email me, and that's all fine. Yeah, and they can send me their stuff. I have all my email information up on my YouTube channel, and yeah, I'd be happy to consider anybody. The whole thing is in verse at this point, so hopefully whoever auditions is ready to spit some rhymes. I'll say that much. All right, so all of you, this has been a great discussion. It was so awesome to have Juice jump on. And do you think he jumped in the pool right after he left? Do you think he jumped in the pool? I don't know. Maybe he did. Anyway, so I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm excited to be taking you guys with me next weekend, and so we're going to be doing the live stream from Brooklyn. And who knows? Maybe I'll get out. Maybe I'll just take the phone and take you guys out to like Sunset Park or something and do it outside. But whatever it is, I'll be coming to you guys live from Brooklyn. And so that's it. And who knows? Maybe there's going to be, maybe there'll be coming up soon some kind of a little, at least in terms of vlogging, there might be a little bit of a collab-ish thing if I can convince a certain other YouTuber to let me pull out my iPhone and do some recording when I connect with them next week. So we'll see. So maybe so look out for a potential collab with another YouTuber that I think all of you will love as much as I do. So that's it for this live stream. Those of you watching from YouTube, like this video if you like it, share it, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourselves. Peace.